Our sixth topic for the Introduction to Tourism Sector's video series is transportation. Of course, obviously, no-brainer, there won't be tourism if there's no transportation. So transportation is a very important aspect of the whole tourism experience and the whole tourism industry. So, what are the specific roles of transportation in the tourism industry? Of course, one very obvious, the means to reach a destination. So, again, tourists are those who go to a destination that is not their residence, and in order for them to go there, they have to ride some form of transportation. But at the same time, transportation is a necessary means of movement within the destination. For example, no, Baguio in itself is a whole destination. But in order for you to be able to get around the destination, diba, you have to ride taxi or jeep to get from Mines View Park to Camp Chanhae to Strawberry Fields, etc., etc. So, what we call that is the internal transport system within a tourism destination. And also, as we have explained earlier, the transportation may be itself the actual tourism attraction or activity. Example, yung cruise, no? Yung cruise ship, this is both a transportation but within itself there are attractions like, there are may casino sa loob, there are fine dining sa loob, there are also social activities sa loob ng cruise ship. So these are also attractions. So that area, yung cruise ship is both a attraction and also a transportation. So, when we think about a certain transportation system, what are the components? The first one, we think about the way, ano yung dinadaanan niya. So, in our case, we talk about air, like airplanes, water, like boats or cruise ships or yachts, and then rail for trains, and of course land, your land transportation like your buses, your jeeps, your tricycles, your pajak, etc. Then of course we have the terminal. The terminal is basically the place where passengers congregate while they wait for the transportation vehicle for them to be taken from one place to another. Of course, if this is water, then it is a port. No, if it's an air travel, of course, these are airports. No, for trains, these are train stations, and for land transportations, such as buses, these are the bus stops. Of course, in the Philippines, bus stops not very existent. No, I'm just kidding. Next, we have the vehicles. So the vehicles are basically the place wherein the passengers are while they are in transit. So of course, for the air transport, we have plane. For water, we have the ferry, the cruise ship, or the boat. And then for the land transportation, of the bus or the car or the jeep, etc. And then, of course, we have the motive power or ano yung nagpapaandar doon sa specific vehicle na yan. Of course, for land transportation and for air transportation, we have gas. We also have electric cars, human, example, pajak. No? And then, of course, we have animals. No? For example, yung carriages or yung mga kalesa. This is important. For example, if you're an eco-tourist, of course, you want to decrease the carbon footprint of your travel. So definitely, pipili ka ng transportation system that does not use gas or coal as a form of motive power. No? Kung ikaw naman ay isang animal advocate, no? Hindi ka gamit ng animal as a motive power for the vehicles that you use while in transport. So what are the considerations that a certain tourist take in order to choose a certain transportation when traveling? First is the distance. Syempre, if the distance is farther, then usually we have a different choice of transportation as some destination na mas malapit from our point of origin. And it's a very important consideration kasi for example, when you talk about going to Albay, if you take it by land, it takes you around 8 to 12 hours. Pero if you take it by plane, it takes you less than an hour to get to Albay. So if the consideration is time, then via distance, then of course it affects the type of transportation that you will take. Next naman is length of stay. Siyempre, if mas mahaba yung length of stay in the transport, if they like, staying long in the transport, in the vehicle, then they would choose land versus the air travel when going to a certain place. Next is status and comfort. So for example, you want to go to Tuguegarao, no, and then would you choose a normal bus or a deluxe bus, no? Syempre, if you have money, no, you would choose deluxe bus because you can make your seats there turn into sleeping beds so that you can sleep through the ride because it's around 12 to 14 hours. So yeah, status and comfort is also a consideration. Next is safety. Okay, so there are certain transportation na mas risky compared to other forms of transportation. No? So that's also a consideration. Next, we have your price. So ano example niyan? Siyempre, even if gusto mo ng comfortable pero siyempre wala ka namang pera pambayad sa mas mahal, mas expensive na ways, then siyempre we go for lower forms of transportation, maaring less comfortable but mas mura. And next is the geographical location of the origin or destination. For example, there are certain destinations na walang sariling port, na walang sariling airport. So, syempre, you cannot go directly in that place via air. No? So, talagang you have to go to the nearest airport and then tsaka ka mag-land travel to the place. Like, for example, I went to a certain place in Polangi, Albay. So Polangi, wala siyang sariling airport. So I had to go plane, and then after taking the plane, I will be going down in Legazpi, and then from Legazpi, I have to take a bus ride 1 hour pabalik to Polangi in order for me to get there for a certain business conference. So yon. So the geographical location and the origin or the destination influences the choice of transportation that we can have. Another example would be na I heard that sa Camiguin, it only has for some airlines, they only have parang around 3 out of 7 days a week na flight. So that's also a consideration for you when you try to choose a certain airline. Other considerations for choice of transportation, one is of course availability. Abay, kung walang airport doon, wala tayong choice, land tayo, no? Next is reliability. So for example, the choice of airlines, will you choose the airline na mas mura pero lagi namang late yung flight nila compared to an airline na mas maayos yung kanilang mga perks in terms of being inside that plane, no? Or in kanilang arrival time. So, syempre, that is also one of your consideration. Frequency of service, so like what I have explained earlier, may mga destinations, may mga certain airlines na in a certain destination, mas konti yung kanilang available flights. So, we choose another airline. And then we have convenience, of course, is it easy to book a flight, or is it easy to get a ticket, a bus ticket, no? For example, isa sa mga good characteristics of Victory Lines compared to other northbound buses is that Victory has a good online ticketing system compared to others. So that could be also a consideration that a tourist makes in choosing a bus transport. And of course, flexibility, the ability to be able to rebook, diba? The ability to be able to get your money back if you are not able to go to that flight or to go to that if something happens, for example COVID. So that's an example of another consideration in choosing the transportation. So in this video, we were able to talk about transportation as a tourism sector. We defined the roles of transportation in tourism. We talked about the channels of transportation, and we also talked about the different consideration that a tourist makes in order for that person to make a decision about the type of transportation that he or she takes in order to get into and out of a tourism destination. For the next video, we'll talk about public sector and policy as a tourism sector.